Welcome to the Threshing Floor Podcast, your premier destination for discussion and commentary on the redemption trading card game and its community. Kick back and relax as we catch you up on the latest news, tournament results, and deck building strategies to take your game to the next level. Now, here are your hosts, John Hendricks and Ager the Wise.
That's right. We are back. I am Hendricks.
I'm Ager the Wise.
It has been, close to 3 months? I don't know. Since we released
it's been a while. It's been a while.
Since we released the Back from Nationals episode. So, we are back. I guess that's the first step here. Mm-hmm. The first part of recovery is admitting that there is a problem. We have not been recording. There has been a problem. We are now on the road to recovery for the betterment of all within the redemption community. So it is wonderful to be back recording. It's nice to see you, Jake. It's been a while. We haven't connected a lot because I've been super busy. You've been super busy.
Super busy.
But we are on the mend a little bit, and hopefully this will be the start of maybe getting some more consistent opportunities to record moving forward, because I know that we're getting into the Thanksgiving and Christmas seasons where people are already going to be busy with families, but I know that shortly after that is when it really ramps up for redemption. Past the new year, everyone's then boom, already focused on. I guess usually the first thing the last couple of years has been Mr. Classic and that weekend, but I know that we're going to hit the ground running, shortly into the new year, where people are going to be trying to figure out what the meta decks are for the new tournament season and things like that. So this will give us a chance to get a few recordings in and, knock the cobwebs off before we get to that point, because this is the second time we hit record. We're like Tyler, where Tyler's like, I forgot to record or I did something wrong, so I just had to redo it. So we tried to record. I forgot to make it to where Jake could hear the sound clip intro because I was just in preview. I didn't switch it over to live, so it was in the recording. I also had an issue with my mic. He previously had an issue with his mic, but we're gonna have to have the training wheels on, I think, for the first couple recordings here to get the dust off.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
How you been, man? How's life going for you?
Life's been so busy. I picked up a new full-time job, so I got 3 jobs. I'm juggling around now, and that's just a lot of it's a lot of work. Like in my full-time job, my boss is offering me overtime. I don't want to turn that down, and it's just crazy. So it's been really crazy trying to keep up with everything. But God is good, and He's growing me through it. So definitely blessed. It's just got to rebalance things, got to make sure I spend less time on YouTube shorts, just waste my time, and got to glorify God, You
got to get off the Redemption with Jaden and the Babooni Tim.
Exactly.
And the Tyler Talks.
Those are good to listen to at work, but yeah, I can't just waste my time. And not that they're a waste of time, just saying I got to be careful with my time.
Well, you said that word, and it's a cute little word that I guess companies came up with to just mean that they need you to do more work than what your standard job is. And that word is overtime. And it's funny you mentioned that. Let me tell you that on my last paycheck, and thank God I'm not salaried, because I would have been hurting for the amount of time invested. But on my last paycheck, and we do 2-week pay periods like most companies now. So in 2 weeks, I hit right under, I think it was 179 hours.
Dude, that's insane.
I had over 80.
That's insane.
I think I was close to 90. I don't know. What's the math?
Yeah, so
if it's 179 minus just the 80.
Just under 80.
So
per week.
And then 80 and 80 would be 160. So then you would put another 19 to get up to 179.
I thought you do 159, 179. That's crazy.
That's
insane.
It is insane. But thankfully, I think I'm coming down off of all of that pressure. The only annoying thing is that this full scale inventory that they wanted us to do, and I've talked about it before. We're a distributor for a satellite company that does internet by satellite, and they had all of this equipment out in the field, and they haven't done inventory on all of their stuff in, I don't know, 20 plus years. So their bright idea was to, we recently took over contracts to where we are their exclusive distributor. And so all of their equipment comes through us. So they had everyone that had equipment out in the field send it to us, and it was in the most awful condition. I'm talking about like we're opening up like rain damaged boxes. We don't know if parts are good or not, and having to sort through all that crap. And then afterwards they wanted to do an inventory count, which again, I am just the guy that runs this warehouse, this distribution facility. But had I been involved in the planning stages, I would have said, hey, let's do inventory on the stuff that we have in-house right now, get 100% good count on that, and then be really critical of the returns coming in before they ever make it into our inventory. But instead, they just said, hey, we moved all that inventory into, or we assigned it all to you, and we're having people send it back.
That's
so like
crazy.
We're on the hook for it. And then I guess they planned on doing like a one-time, like, let's just get it right. And as far as like value, and this stuff doesn't have the real value that they have attached to it, but they're probably going to end up writing off at least $8 million of inventory.
Good grief.
That's just, it's not here or it's damaged and things like that.
That's insane.
Yeah. So that's what I've been dealing with, but I'm getting into a more, I guess, healthy, balance of my time.
That's
good. With the new job and things, you're just going to have to keep working that and trying to find. So just throwing that out there for people to give us a little bit of grace if we don't get right back to bi-weekly recordings and things, if it takes a little bit of time to get our feet under us. If there's mistakes with some of the recording or editing process, it's just going to be a retool here to get caught up, because it's like you're in a groove when you're doing it. Or weekly or every 2 weeks or whatever, you can stay in a groove and it's easy, but you step away for a little bit, coming back, it's just like, all right, where do I do it? So
why does my microphone not work? What's going on?
I know I spent time setting this up at some point. Why did it not save the settings? I don't know. That's just part of life, but we are here, we are recording, and we are glad to be back. I'm especially glad to be able to dip into this hobby that I have, because believe it or not, I've trimmed a lot of the different hobbies that I have. Like, I still like to go fishing and things, but now it's a lot harder to get time to go fishing with the weather now. So that's kind of moving aside. And then a lot of the other hobbies besides like watching sports, I've kind of, more or less put aside or trimmed back. Yeah, that's a good word. Or a good phrase for it. And so I'm ready to like jump into Redemption, like off the high dive with the new set and things. And I really hated that I wasn't able to drive up to Michigan for the TJC tournament, which recently happened. And then you guys had one, I guess, a second leg of that. We got to come up with a better way to name these things. But there was one in Texas as well. I wish I could have driven over to that one. But the one in Michigan was the week that we were actually doing inventory. The weekend we were counting inventory, and then it was my first week of just, okay, I can catch my breath, trying to pick up and tell my wife, hey, I'm going to drive over to Texas 12 hours away and spend the weekend. It doesn't really work out.
Yeah, because and your family needs extra time too. So like, that's crazy. Yeah,
because as you spend more time with work, you pull away from everything, including family. So you have to find the right balance of where to fit it in.
100%.
But before we get too deep into this episode, I want to make sure to shout out that this episode, like all episodes that we are recording moving forward in the future, as of right now, are sponsored by our friends over at Your Turn Games. That's Andy and Kelsey Fish. They chose to sponsor the podcast, and we were doing well there heading into nationals. And then I feel like I've let them down here lately. We haven't had much time to shout them out. They're probably, they're gracious about things. They're not upset or anything.
You don't think they have a dartboard with your face on it? John.
Maybe they could. I know John's probably got one for Covenant. But being that we're recording and we do have the chance, I definitely wanted to take the time to give a proper shout out to Your Turn Games for sponsoring this episode. And we also wanted to let you know that Your Turn Games is currently offering their biggest sale of the year. It's happening right now And in this sale, you know what, Jake? Any card you need, knock a quarter of it off.
Dude,
25%.
Yeah,
that's insane for a single card. Yeah. Oh, you've already ordered?
They have a defects and damaged card section that has even more discounts, and I got a discount on that.
So you can get 25% off of the already discounted.
I think so. Like I if I remember correctly, don't check with Andy, but like I think so. The point is, I got a really good deal on a promo Paul, because I never had a Paul. So now I have a Paul. I got a good order, and I love when they send the note on there, which is really cool. Yep. So it was just really fun. I'm glad to get that order from a YTG.
Sweet. So 25% off singles. That's the biggest discount of the year. You can also buy a display box right now, and you're going to get 5 booster packs of your choice for free. So instead of getting the 24 packs that you're buying, you're actually going to get, I guess that's 29. Seems like maybe come on, Andy, you could do one more so you could say 30, a nice round number. But yeah, so you're going to get 5 booster packs of your choice for free. And then instead of the 25% discount, there's a 15% discount on champion decks. So you get 25% off singles, then you get 15% off champion decks, and that's the decks that won or placed at Nationals this past year. Mm-hmm. You get 15% off of play mats. Oh, which I guess I should say the champion decks are already discounted from their individual card prices. So if you were buying that, if you were going to go and price all of those individual cards, you would save by buying the champion deck already, and then 15% off. Get 15% off play mats, which Your Turn Games always has a lot of cool designs and things for play mats. And then you get 10% off of grab bags, complete sets, starter decks, and sleeves. There's no discount code needed. You just go to the site. You're going to select these, put them in your cart, and you will have the best price there. And this sale is going to end November 25th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time.
Oh, man.
Eastern Time. So if you're at Central Time like me and Jake, and you go and you're like, man, it's 11:34 and I got to put my order in before 11:59, but it's 11:59 Eastern Time, so you already missed it. So make sure you know that it is 11:59 Eastern Time. You know what would be cool, Jake?
What would be cool?
We should check with Andy and see how many times, like, he has a deadline like this, how many orders get put in at, like the last hour.
Right, the last minute.
I wonder if somebody's like, hey, I've got to do it. I just remembered.
Exactly.
I wonder if there's any hot action there at the end of the deadline.
There should be.
Well, I don't know if the community's taking advantage early on, then you don't have to wait till the last minute. I'm a last minute type of guy. Like, I wait till the last minute, not because I intend to wait till the last minute. I just forget, or I'm like, oh, I've got time, and then, oh no, where'd the time go?
Time flies.
Yeah, time flies, especially when you're having fun. It also flies when you're not recording podcasts. Did you notice that?
Yes,
you're like, oh, we haven't recorded in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks. It flies by.
It does for sure.
We've gone so long about the podcast, I'm not even getting DMs about when's the next episode. Like, they just realized to quit trying.
Yeah.
Sit back and relax while we get you caught up on all the latest news and notes from around the game and the community.
Man, I'm telling you,
fire. Love it.
Now that we introduced having those segment like transitions and things into the podcast, it's a little bit more involved to just run through a recording. So again, just work with us, baby. Work with us. So I do want to start off by saying and giving a proper shout out to Baboony Tim. You guys have not heard it yet, but we did actually record something with Tim, and we didn't have Tyler on. He couldn't make it because the Jets were losing on Monday Night Football. But we also had, obviously, Jake was there. We had Jaden, and then we had Rob M. And it was a content creator roundtable. So at some point, you guys will get that episode. It was almost 2 hours, or maybe just right at 2 hours. And it's a roundtable discussion talking about each person's, how they balance, their enjoyment with the hobby with creating content. Where does it become a burden versus an enjoyment type of thing? And I just thought it was kind of cool to give perspective on the people, because when I first came into the game, there wasn't much content creation, and now we've kind of had a renaissance of that stuff. And we talk about it a lot, that there's a lot of people making content, even Jake here putting some YouTube videos up, but he takes the easy way out and just puts raw footage. And he says this is raw footage.
Yeah.
But some people like Jaden go in and, you know, they edit. Tyler probably doesn't do that much editing, but I know Rob M does editing, and adding editing to it. You know, like we've got James who started the Chamber of Angels podcast, and he will tell you editing is probably the one thing that keeps you from grinding out more episodes than you would be able to normally, because it can become a burden at times. And I've definitely felt the effects of that. But this wasn't about me shouting out my plight or my struggle. I just wanted to give the content creators a chance to talk. So at some point you guys will see that, but that I expected to have come out before we recorded what this episode is, but I haven't had a chance to edit it. So this is our first time to acknowledge on the podcast that Land of Redemption has changed ownership. It has changed hands, and now Baboony Tim is now the owner of Land of Redemption. So I wanted to shout him out and give him congratulations on that. And he has done a fantastic job, you know, coming into the community and in a humble way, you know, working on becoming and I feel like he started out with a goal to become a competitive player at the top end of the competitive scene, but not only doing that, balancing that out with bringing value to the community as a whole with his video content and things for different levels of players. And that kind of takes on a whole new meaning with him taking over Land of Redemption. So I definitely wanted to shout out that he's taken that, you know, taking the reins of that, and he's really tried to do things to make Land of Redemption kind of not just relevant, but like a central hub, you know, which is kind of the way that Chad had started pushing and wanting everything to be there, which even started back when Gabe still had it before he passed it on. So it just seems like each time that it changes hands, because it's changed hands a couple of times now in the last couple of years, that the new owner is reaffirming kind of the goal of the site, which is a positive thing to see.
And huge shout out to Chad too. Like, he's done an amazing job with it, and he's just like, he's got a lot of life that he's got to do too, with family and things going on for him. So for Baboony to be able to put some more time into it and put some fresh blood in there, that's really cool. So I'm just excited for the direction. He's got the what is it called, the that term for where everybody meets together and talks, like an open forum, like for articles. They're like, hey, bring your ideas and let's everybody talk about this. So it's really cool. I'm really excited for the future of Land of Redemption.
Yep, absolutely. And I think it's also something to be said for Chad acknowledging where, like we talked about work-life balance and the reason we haven't recorded. And that's another reason, you know, seeing the content creators go through these periods of having to not be able to put out content because things get in the way, or, you know, they just have to balance other things in their life, you know, you have to compartmentalize. You can't let the hobby side of life take over everything else. And you got to balance family, especially people that have growing families like Chad's. But I think that being able to step back, and after nationals, like, I know that he wanted to go and be one of the top players that made top cut and be competitive and everything. And it didn't work out for him this year. I think he wrote I'm pretty sure it was an actual article, but I think he might have given a little bit of context on Discord. So I'm not sure exactly where all of the information came from, but he was basically acknowledging that he knows what it takes to become a competitive player and be that top competitive player. And that's what he was striving for, but he acknowledges that he's not able to put in what that requires. And just acknowledging that.
And I think to be clear, like, he was right on the edge of it anyways, but like, I think if you want to force it, you can force it if you really put extra time into it. Currently, he's like right on the edge, and like, he could do it anytime if things fall the right way, because he's good. Like, he's good, right? And he puts some practice in there. But if you put in extra practice, he could pretty much force it with the extra level of time if he had the time to do it.
Yeah, but acknowledging that he doesn't have the time, and then focusing on family and things, and taking a step back from, the striving and the goal chasing for being one of those top competitive players, being able to acknowledge that, set that aside. But also, I think that went into the decision making to pass on Land of Redemption because he wasn't able to devote the right kind of time that it would need for it to be up to the standard that he wants to see Land of Redemption at. And finding a way to pass that on to someone who does have the time to dedicate to it, I think was just a real mature way to handle it. And I think it changed hands to the right kind of person in Tim, someone that not only has the time for it, but is actually good with, the kind of skills required to be captivating in like media content and things like that. Like he's a good content creator, and this is just another avenue for him to push content out. So I think it's a net positive for the community, even though it might be one of those things to where, there is a period of acknowledging that you can't do what you want to do with your hobby because you don't have the time to dedicate to it. And that part of it kind of stinks at times when you have to go through that. But I think it was a very mature way for Chad to handle it. So shout out to him as well.
Yes, definitely.
But mentioning Land of Redemption, the big reason I wanted to mention that is obviously Baboony Tim makes videos. He makes plenty of them. There's a bunch since Nationals. But one thing that I do want to highlight, because we didn't get to talk about it because we weren't recording at the time, was the data from Nationals 2024 that he compiled and gave different ways to look at. And I think we've been doing deck lists for the last, I don't know, at least 3 Nationals or so. And those deck lists always they're always done out of a desire for this information to be compiled and so that we can refer back to it and we can have that. But I don't think anyone's had the time to put it together and put it out in a way that Tim did. And so I think that for all the hard work that he put into it alone, but then also the fact that he tried to make it as user-friendly as possible to get this data, to understand the data, and then find different ways for you to apply the data. Just the different way that he laid it out. And I it's obviously been a little while since I looked at that because I looked at it when it first came out and I was like, wow, for Redemption, this is like, I don't know, it's like the first time your family had a car that you didn't have to beat on to crank up as a kid or something. It's like, this is luxury right here, okay? This is...
When we upgraded from dial-up to broadband, that's
when
the upgrade.
The man stopped running when you didn't lose your phone to get on the internet.
Exactly.
And now both of us are showing our age. So the youngins are going to come for us.
The first car with a rear view camera. Oh, really? This is nice.
Oh, you don't even have to turn around to back up. Note to kids out there, you should still turn around. I'm just saying.
Yes, definitely.
But I definitely wanted to give a shout out here, first time recording, since that's been made available for people to go and look at that, because I know the amount of work that it took to put that out, and also just the cool factor of it. And it's something that our game hasn't had like other games because we're such a smaller community. But that's out there. Go and check that out. You want to tell us what Tyler Talks has got going on here lately?
Yeah, so he's in a few videos here, and I haven't had a chance to really watch these or listen to these yet, but I'm going to be looking to that 2-for-1 special with Moab cans, so that sounds interesting. So with me getting back into the game, is just a quick little note on me. I played my first, in the last week and 2 weeks or so, I've been playing my first games of Redemption since Nationals. So I'm getting back in the flow. So I'm looking to download some data from Booney. And so I'm just excited to see these videos from Tyler too, because it's going to be a lot of fun getting back into the swing of things.
Yep. You and me both. We've got a lot of work to catch up on all these videos and things. I've perused some of them and started a lot of them, but I haven't watched all the way through on a bunch of them. Mm-hmm. I have not yet watched this one, and I'm really interested when he says Moab cans. And
Moab cans.
Tyler has this, I feel like he has this desire to come up with a catchphrase name for a defense and throw it out before anybody else can, so he can stake claim that I came up with that.
I came up with that one.
I came up with that. What was the one that it was him and I think Jaden both put out similar a couple of years ago? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it was like they both put it out there, and he was. So I feel like this is him just taking claim to like a mixed defense. Be like, I came up with that. I'm wondering though if the Canaanite part of this, is more than just the woman at the Bez or whatever, and like foreign wives. Like that can't count, right?
Yeah,
at that point,
I think it's related to chump blocking and soul hiding and soul protection, but we'll see. Because Moabites are really good at the soul hiding too, so we'll see. We'll see.
Next time we record, we'll know. So maybe we can follow up. But if it's, I'm going to be disappointed if it's just foreign wives and woman at the Bez or something like that. So I hope that's not the case. But our friend Redemption with Jaden, now he obviously is one of the top players in the game. And so he did make his way to the Thomas J. Chamber Memorial Tournament, and he recorded some live stream footage there. So that is available. And obviously, when you're a top competitive player and you're going to a tournament, you're expecting to win. So, spoiler alert, he did win one of the categories here. And I believe there's a video where he and someone else is opening boxes that they potentially won from the tournament or got from the tournament. So that's available as well. I believe I saw on his channel. But his most recent video is featuring, hey, who did we just talk about? Tyler Talks. Yeah. So Tyler Talks is joining on Redemption with Jaden, which is always cool to see the collaboration between the content creators and things for the game and just show how like close knit the community is. But Tyler Talks Israel block. Now, that's an interesting thing, and I have not watched this one, but would you say, let me put you on the spot right here, because
put me on the spot.
I feel like if we don't put any like, if we don't throw out some like outlandish opinions and like some strong opinions, then what even is the podcast, right?
What's the point?
So, and again, our opinions are just our opinions. You don't have to agree with them out there, but I do like to give opportunity for, our opinions to be shared as well, so that people kind of get a sense of how we feel about things. I mean, if you're going to listen to us, I feel like most people probably are curious at least. But let me ask you, if he's talking the Israel block, and we're talking Israel's deliverance, Israel's rebellion, Israel's inheritance, how would you rate that block set? And I want you to give me a letter grade.
A letter
up to grade. A, not like S or anything, just A, B, C, D, or F. And you can use plus or minus if you want. Just throw it in there. Where would you rate the Israel block?
The Israel block. So let's see. I think
one disclaimer though, while you're thinking, is that this isn't a concrete like this is how we feel 100%. Obviously, we have a couple of years now with the starter decks being out. We've got at least a year plus of Israel's rebellion, but Israel's inheritance has just come out. So we only have a lot of it still like theory crafting in our heads and not really applied. Like we know this card is good or we don't know this card is good. It's just a lot of immediate thoughts looking at the set, but using that information at your disposal, how would you rate it with, the caveat that it could change down the road based on how II is viewed?
Yeah. So currently I'm really enjoying II. I think it's a really good set. Not perfect, obviously, but like I could see the set itself getting an A, and the starter deck set was good. I could see that getting an A or an A minus. I think Israel's Rebellion, I think it missed a little bit on power level trying to rein back from GOC, so it was a little weak. So if I had to grade the block together, I'd say like B plus or A minus, something like that. I'm excited for it. Because I love different formats, and I love like, hey, you're playing with Mary the whole time, but like let's try like these colors. I like swapping things up and having a new perspective on things. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I appreciate your opinion. I won't say that it's wrong, but you are way high. Like I'm thinking like C.
Really?
Yeah, maybe C plus. I just feel like even if you take away GOC, I feel like these sets pale in comparison to Prophecy of Christ, Lineage of Christ. I feel like they're on par maybe with Fall of Man, but we look back at Fall of Man not with a lot of love to where we're like, hey, that set was hot. Like, let me get that set. That set was plagued by, it had Antediluvians, which was a theme that while they put it out, like, no, it's not playable for real. Nobody really invests time into it. I don't know that anybody's out there like, I really enjoy playing Antediluvians. And I feel like in Israel's Rebellion, some of that was carried over. Like, that same thing plagues Israel's Rebellion a little bit, to where it's like, there's some themes in there that people probably just don't enjoy playing. And I appreciate the blue stuff, but I feel like there's a lot of blue stuff when I would have taken fewer blue cards for stronger blue cards. And I know that doesn't necessarily work out for building a set. Like, you can't have everything be strong. And I'm not saying that blue should get strong this or that. I'm just, it felt like even with like some of the clay stuff, like there's a lot, but I would cut some of that to get stronger cards. And then across the whole set, like I just feel like the power level is...
So
it's
below.
It's below not just GOC, but like the whole Christ block.
Okay, we're talking about just Israel's Rebellion, or are we talking about Inheritance too? Because I think
I was just giving a review on. Yes, I was just giving a review on Rebellion right now. The starter decks, I would say, they're okay. They're okay.
Yeah.
And then Israel's Inheritance, like I said, like we have limited knowledge because I haven't played any true games with the cards. I've built some decks, but I haven't played any true games with them. So I don't want to say, again, this isn't a definitive opinion about it, but I feel like it is a step up. But I feel like the power level contained within it is a step up, just to be a step up above Israel's Rebellion from the look. Like, it's like when they were playtesting, they were talking about how strong Warriors were. And I feel like the finished product of Warriors it's good, but considering you're forced to build that deck in a certain way to use the theme and all of that, I don't know that it gives me enough to make me want to build it over a GOC offense.
Yeah.
Some of the defenses look pretty good, but I haven't put them in real terms play, but it feels like you have to have a lot more card slots dedicated to these defenses to make them work. And as we see from the last couple of years at Nationals, people aren't able to dedicate those defensive slots because you need to make them support an offensive cards just to keep up with the power level in GOC. And in, decks that were created through the Of Christ block before you got to the Israel block. So I think without seeing the full impacts of I would put it at probably about a C+ right now.
For the whole block.
For the whole block.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm not going to say that you're wrong, but I appreciate that you have a horrible opinion. I'm kidding.
That's what I could push that up to, like, I mean, if II is really good, I mean, it could get to a B+.
Yeah.
And that's where you have it.
Yeah.
So maybe you with your, one tournament already under your belt with II, maybe you have a little bit more of a knowing what that's going to look like in tournament play.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think we're that far off. I just think, I don't know that you can give, the starter deck is really good, give that to boost the entire block, because it is, again, a starter deck.
Yeah, definitely.
So, like if we were rating it as a starter deck, how good is it as a starter deck? I'd probably give you an A starter deck.
Yeah.
But as part of a block, like, it's not like you can take that starter deck and then apply the two sets to the starter decks, and then, oh man, you have a competitive deck for real. Like,
that is true. That is true.
It's not like it continues. Like, it continues the story, sure, but it doesn't necessarily continue in theme and building that into.
Yeah.
And
that is true.
Deck.
I like the simplicity of the starter decks, but I wish they'd like amped up to where like there's more cards that are actually like really viable, because out of the starter deck, there's only a handful of cards that are actually viable. And I really think David, Goliath, and Pharaoh and Moses should have been cards that you can like. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
like
playing
throw
this in
them
my
out.
Yeah, I think you should. I think they should be strong enough to be like, I'm putting this in my standard deck, like because I think that's really cool for a kid to open up. Like, oh, I got David here, and you're gonna be like, that card's good in the starter deck, but it's not good. It's not good outside of there.
I don't want to say that we should copy other games per se, but I also know that there's been a lot of articles written on Land of Redemption where learning from our peers is mentioned. And so if other games are doing something and they're doing it well, we can learn from that. And like, I'm not saying that the card creators, card designers are wrong. Like, they are doing a really good job of governing this game and pushing this game towards future growth and trying to simplify it. And they have a hard task. I'm not trying to shoot on them at all. Like, I'm just trying to give you, like, as a player, an opinion. Here it is. So it's not to knock those guys. I appreciate them volunteering and doing what they do for the game. Like, the game would not exist without the hard work of those guys on a volunteer basis. Like, they're not getting paid to do this. So set that aside, though. The one thing that I think I recall is, like, as a kid, picking up that first Yu-Gi-Oh! Starter deck where you could get Blue Eyes White Dragon. You could get Red Eyes Black Dragon. You could get Dark Magician. You could get these premier dual monster cards or whatever. And same thing with Pokemon. Like, you could get a premier Pokemon, and then you could go to the card game, and those were actually, you know, like, they weren't great on their own. Like, there was, you know, you had to put support around them, and, you know, they didn't have effects, these big attack power monsters or whatever. But you could take that and you could build a deck with, say, 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons for Yu-Gi-Oh! And it would be strong. But, like, the starter deck David isn't even playable when you build a constructed David deck. Yeah. Like, there is no value to David in a constructed format. And that is kind of disappointing a little bit, but
I agree.
Again, not trying to knock on them, but I'm just, maybe that's an opportunity for us to see how other games are doing it and maybe bring something in it. And what would be wrong with having, you know, a strong value card in the starter decks? Because the accessibility is that everyone can eventually get it because it's highly accessible and available. I mean, you can buy a starter deck and you can get that Blue Eyes White Dragon, so it doesn't have a high value, but it is an important card that you can build into a deck.
Yep.
So
100%.
I when I think about the value of the Israel's Deliverance starter decks when we're talking about the block set, I feel like because I can't pull anything and build around it, I can just pull this 1 or 2 or 3 cards maybe and find use. And usually they're use cases. It's not like this is a staple or this is for this theme. I'm not saying like we should have like Denarius to where it comes out like an IJ plus and we throw it in every deck. But if you build a David deck, you literally are not even considering that David. If you build a Moses deck or a Wilderness deck, you are literally not even considering that Moses. There's no value to be carried over into constructive. And from the designer's perspective, I can say, okay, or I can see and reason with them that, well, that's not what the starter deck is for. It's for new players to come in and get, you know, introduced to the game and the game mechanics. And it does wonderful for that. So as a standalone starter deck, it would be rated higher to me. But when you're putting it as part of the block, as a player that's using this block of cards to build constructed decks, I don't find any value in it for real.
Okay.
So that's why that's the differentiation for me on the starter deck as a standalone versus part of the block.
Okay. I got you.
I could still be wrong in my opinion. You are welcome to say I'm wrong. Just know that makes you wrong.
Exactly.
But anyway, there's Tyler Talks Israel block on Jaden's channel, Redemption with Jaden. So obviously from the talk here, neither one of us have listened to that yet. So I don't know. Maybe
part of it.
Oh, did you?
I listened to part, but yeah. I need to go back and listen to the whole thing. It's good. And
was it just a general review of the block as a whole?
Yeah, they were talking about some of the design and how that was always intended to be played have a cohesive nature between the blocks, and it just reminded me of one thing is even if this block is weaker than previous blocks, that the interblock play could actually be really strong too. So even if it doesn't do well compared to GOC, if it does well in its own ecosystem, that's another little thing too. And he doesn't really I remember Tyler saying this, he doesn't really want to make it a new format that's always played, but we can do that for side formats, and we can do that for special events, some non-official stuff. And I think that's really cool because I love those type of thinking outside the box, don't play what you've always been playing type stuff. So I think it's really cool.
For sure. I guess the next thing that we have is back to Land of Redemption a little bit here. And I wanted to go ahead and throw out the shout out for Tim taking over Land of Redemption before we got to this part, because I want to talk about something that he has brought up and shared and created. And that is a deck building contest. And it looks like potentially there's room for this to grow in the future. But right now there is a tournament, or not a tournament, I'm sorry. There's a contest of deck building where we're looking to reward the most creative deck. And Jake, what does it mean to be the most creative deck? Can you tell us?
Oh, the most creative deck? It's going to be, first off, the thing is going to be judged by the community. So that's always really cool. But what does it mean to be the most creative deck? What does creativity even mean? It's just thinking outside the box. It's being awesome. It's being cool. It's trying new things. It's doing things that not everybody's done before.
That's your opinion, and you're a member of the community.
Exactly.
And this is going to be judged by the community. I saw where someone asked Tim, what does creativity mean? What is the standard? And he was like, I don't know. No clue. It's up to the community.
Exactly.
Literally, no one knows what the community is going to feel as a whole. So you just have to extend yourself in what you think is the most creative way in order to potentially win this thing. So
I've had AI write some decks for me before, so I'm going to do that. And I think that's a very creative way to build redemption decks.
I don't know if it's a very good way, but
no, it's never given me a legal list. It's always been ooh, you should play Seven Sons of God. Okay, well, that does not work.
So the theme for this contest is going to be the most creative Type 1 decks. So the Redemption community, and I'm going to read this straight from the Land of Redemption article announcing this tournament. Maybe not verbatim, but I'll read this first part verbatim because it says the Redemption community will be voting for the most creative, and in parentheses it says, and funny Type 1 decks. So you can add an element of funny as well to get creative. So
we can do
I don't even know what all that means. Maybe it's
Deacons and Antediluvians. That'll be the best deck ever. Oh man, I'm all in on this. Let's go. Everybody's favorites. Everybody's favorite themes. This is gonna be amazing.
So there is a main category and a subcategory. The main category is the most creative deck. Again, whatever that means to the community at large. No one can quantify what each person is going to believe is the most creative. So there really is no standard that we can give you to apply to when you're building this deck, be okay, I need it to be the most creative. So I need this or I need that. There's nothing that we can give you there. Because it's up to the community. But the subcategory is the funniest deck. So these are running in parallel. So the most creative deck will not be the funniest deck because he says on here that you must submit a legal, Lackey compatible Type 1 deck list. Must submit a description for your deck, which I think the most creativity is probably going to come in the description for your deck. Talk about it in a way, that video that Tim did that was the commentary for.
Yes.
And he's playing the flooded red or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Here we have a wild baboony failing on his game.
And he doesn't even know that he has messed up. Yeah, I really think that the description is probably going to be where you can inject the most creativity because at a certain point, the deck is just the deck. It's cards put together on the table, and everyone's is going to look the same. But where you can differentiate is you can put a description that is, it's an outside the box thinking. It's a it's an unopened door. It's literally, it can be whatever you want it to be. It's like Michael Scott at the job fair with a blank piece of paper, because this paper
We're getting
can
philosophical
be anything.
here.
Your description can be anything.
Oh man, it's a blank canvas.
The better your description, the better off you'll be in the voting rounds. So now we know that there's going to be voting rounds. So it's like we're going to eliminate some and probably keep some, and then eliminate as we get down to who the winner is. But then it says you must submit your deck list by midnight on 11/25/24. Now, unlike Andy, which has a deadline at the same time, this does not list a time zone. So we'll need to get Tim to confirm the time zone here. I'm guessing he would probably be lenient, since he didn't put a time zone, to maybe his time zone, which is Pacific time, because he's out in California. So that would potentially give someone like me on the Central time, on Central time, or someone on the East Coast, an extra hour, 2 hours, potentially 3 hours. Wow. So we just probably need to hem that up before. So maybe just don't wait till the deadline. So you've got a week-ish from the time of this recording. So you'll have less than that by the time it comes out. So be creative, get your decks in.
Yeah.
And then the prizes for this will be, the main category is going to get a Your Turn Games $50 gift card. Ooh, another shout out for our friends at Your Turn Games. So generous giving to the community here. And the main category for second place is going to be a $25 gift card. The subcategory, which is the funniest deck, first place, because it is the subcategory, not the main category, is $10 less. So it's a $40 gift card. Then the subcategory is $20 gift card. Yes, absolutely awesome. I mean, you submit this, you write a few funny words, and you come out with potentially a $50, $25, $40, or $20 gift card. You can't beat that.
You can't beat that.
Now, Andy and I believe Tim here did work this out so that you get the gift card after the big sale's over with. So that's I think I think there was some marketing planning going into this. But there's some notes here on this article that says you will be allowed to submit multiple deck lists, but you won't be eligible to win multiple prizes. That's where I said that the most creative deck wouldn't be the funniest deck, because you can only win one of the categories. Your deck can't win the second. And then voting will take place using a ranked choice voting system, or using ranked choice voting.
That sounds awesome.
I think we're going to see some wide spanning results here potentially. And then once deck lists have been submitted, the community will have 1 week to vote. So if it ends on the 25th, then we'll have a week. So we're looking at finishing up the first week in December there. Wow. All information regarding this contest will be available in Land of Redemption and in the Redemption Discord. Winners and the next contest will be announced on 12/2. So yes, on December 2nd. And then you can submit deck list here on this article directly. But the next contest, so that's where I mentioned potentially other deck building contests. This is most creative and funniest. So the next deck could be the best Old Testament story deck potentially, or something like that. Like I don't know what all he would put into these different categories and themes for this, but it does look like this is going to be a continuing deck building contest series. I'm not sure how long it's going to carry on, but we know that at least it's going to have 2 iterations, because we're working on one now, and another one will be announced on 12/2 alongside the winners for this first one. So I am excited. Now, unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to participate, because I'm just getting my head above water. I don't know if I've even got the deck building prowess to put a full deck together on the fly right now, let alone trying to come up with the most creative. I really wish this was around when I had my King Noah deck.
Yeah.
I feel like I could have pushed that thing in there. Well, it's classic, so it's not type 1 rotation. I assume we need to be a rotation. He did say type 1 and didn't specify, I don't believe, but I would think that it needs to be rotation legal.
Okay. So you can't update it to rotation. There's nothing there's vital cards in classic that you can't do otherwise.
Well, I mean, a lot of it's based on hidden treasure, getting to play first when Noah comes in. So, and then getting to play first off of, basically you had 2 chances to play first off of Noah, because you had hidden treasure as a lone prophet, and you also had the Throne of David, because he would trigger because he's a purple king at that point with a royal priesthood placed on him.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was fun. And then like when I saw the Send the Helper card in GOC, I was like, oh yeah, we could do this, because I thought Classic was going to be a thing, but Classic hasn't really remained a real viable category, which I'm perfectly fine with because I have no nostalgic pull to the old cards. But had it been, I was like, man, to see Send the Helper getting you another pull, that would just be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool.
But I don't know. I just don't think that I would be able to come up with something that I felt was the most creative that I could do. So I probably won't have time to partake in this one. But I am looking forward to maybe jumping in the next one. So put you on the spot again. Are you going to submit a deck?
I think I am. I've currently been working on a 100-card deck. So we'll see about that.
I wonder how many 100-card decks people are going to submit, because I feel like when you say most creative, someone could just immediately jump to that.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see it. Maybe if we get like 2 or 3 submitted, we could see the different thoughts on how to put together a 100-card deck. Like, where do you value the double copies and where do you not? That'd be kind of cool, because we don't see enough of them to like compare and branch out.
Yeah, definitely. Very interesting. My head's just swimming with ideas right now.
Yeah, well, see, and that's the thing. Like, my head's swimming with ideas, and I'm like, in no way could I come up with that in time. But guess what? I can come up with in time.
You can do this.
Guess what? I can come up with in time.
What can you come up with?
I can come up with.
Yeah.
If this sound clip is right.
I can hear this.
You know what that means, don't you?
It's Christmas.
I believe that would make this the 5th year of the annual redemption Christmas card swap. Now,
no way!
Last year's Christmas card swap was off the chains. Like, I mean, the participation was ridiculous.
Incredible.
We had over, I think it was over 70, maybe over 75 people ended up participating at the end, or maybe right at 75. It was huge, and we had prizes tiered all the way up to 60 participants. And the reason that started out was I decided I wanted to have some prizes, to boost and push for better participation numbers. So I came up with the idea to submit the ultra rare playset from the latest set, Israel's Rebellion, because I had bought a bunch of boxes and I had enough that I could spare to part with a full set. I gave away some custom cards as an entry thing, and then I had Covenant Games and Your Turn Games jump in, and we got a contender deck from Your Turn Games. We got a box from Covenant Games. Then we had a couple of people reach out and volunteer things. Someone even anonymously volunteered a set of national promos from the most recent nationals. And that was really cool at the time. That's really cool. I guess. Or maybe it was... No, I think it was the 2022 nationals for last year. So it was the year prior for the promos. But anyway, so it was a lot of other people coming together. It wasn't just me. And I think that there's potential for that to happen again this year. And so I am making the announcement that the Christmas card swap is happening.
This is happening.
I am not making the announcement. I'm not making the announcement about anything else. Okay.
Okay.
And the reason is, and I was talking with someone. I'll just say someone. I don't want to throw them out yet. But I was talking to someone about it and was asking, and they asked if I was trying to copy last year. Now, in a perfect world, I would say I want to do at least what we did last year, or better, in comparable value, and have those giveaways. But again, that wasn't on me, and I don't want to have the expectation that this year is going to be exactly like last year, to where then it feels like a disappointment if it falls short of that. So I am hopeful that it will be as good, if not better. Each year has been better than the year prior. So I'm hoping that we will be able to do that. But it took so many other people volunteering. So I'm putting out this teaser, I guess, that we will be in the next few days announcing the details of the Christmas card swap. I would like to give away tiered prizes. I have some stuff that I can potentially part with to do that. And then our sponsor is willing to be part of it, Your Turn Games. Now, I don't know about anyone else. I don't want to put the expectation out that anyone that did last year is necessarily going to do again this year. But if anyone in the community would like to donate anything to the tiered prizes for participation so that we can do the extra giveaways beyond the card swap, because I think that really kind of enhances the whole overall event. I believe that that's what kind of boosted last year. But if anyone has anything they want to donate, feel free to reach out. We can do it anonymous. I can share your information if you want, whatever. But if you have something you want to put up to enhance the tiered prizes for the card swap, feel free to reach out to me. But I will be working on that over the next couple of days, and maybe by like this coming weekend, we will have the announcement put together. This is what we have. We'll give people at least 2 weeks to sign up, and then we will, swap the names like we've done every year past. And again, the one thing that's not going to change about the Christmas card swap is the low cost to participate. You are only required to send one rotation legal rare card. So it can be, if you want to send an ultra rare, fine. If you want to send a national promo, fine. But it has to be at least one rare card. And rare cards are available from Your Turn Games for like $3. So we're at $3. And then you have to have at least 2 other rotation legal cards. And those can be anything common or up. And you can get those for literally like 75 cents at Your Turn Games. So using our sponsors' pricing model, the cost to participate, if you're just using, I'm going to buy them from Your Turn Games, is literally $1.50, $3, $4.50 postage.
Plus shipping.
We're talking well less than $10. And the reason that we're keeping it at those 3 cards is because I want anyone that's in the community to be able to participate. I don't want it to be like, okay, this is the requirement, and people that don't have extensive collections feel like they can't participate. Because what has actually happened over the last 4 years of running this, and I get stories all the time, and there's pictures that's been shared. Someone puts up the minimum because that's what they have in their collection, and someone out there will get the minimum, but there's people out there that also, after sending the minimum, or maybe sending more, in return, they're getting something that is much more than the requirements. They're getting, here's a national promo that someone gave me. Wow, here's now the coolest card in my collection potentially. And the community has just shown its character by giving more than what is required through this. And I think that's part of what builds it up. Like Brian's kids at the Oakdale Christian Academy there, where he teaches, or well, I guess he doesn't teach. He is a, I don't know. He tells kids what to do. What do they call those people? No, he's like in the boys' dorm.
Okay.
I don't know the term. I'm trying to come up with the term, and I know it. It's right there, but I can't say it. Brian knows what his job title is, so drop it in the chat, homeboy. But anyway, he had a bunch of his kids decide to sign up, and he was nervous. He actually reached out and asked and told me that he was nervous for some of them putting up because they were getting really into it and sending a bunch of stuff. And I think that ended up being a net positive for them. So even though they sent a lot more than maybe they had to, or maybe they didn't have as much to send, but they wanted to send some of their better stuff that they had, I think it was a net positive for most of those guys to receive from the community. So, and that's the thing is, some people's going to have more to give. Some people's only going to be able to give the minimum. But I mean, you just get to see the nature of the community with some of the people that send more than that. And then adding the tier prizes is just a way to, okay, just for signing up, here's you another chance to get an awesome, cool prize for participating.
I can tell you from my stance, like I've been doing this ever since I got into, I don't think I missed one. And every year, like the first few years, I didn't have much, but every year I've been given a little bit more. And every year I've been blessed by people with a lot. Like their community has been amazing, blessing me. So I lost my collection at one point, and a lot of people helped me out rebuilding my collection. So I have more cards to give away this time, so I can give out some more cards this time, and I'm excited to really share that with the community. So I'm excited for this next one. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
You know what? That reminds me, and I'm not saying this to just make you look good here because you're on the podcast, but one of the first indicators of like your character to me was after you lost your collection there at Knoxville Nationals. Mm-hmm. And I reached out and I was like, hey, I've got some extra cards that are probably cards that you lost. Let me know what I can send you. And no, like I wasn't expecting anything. Like, just give me a list of cards and I will send you these cards out of my collection. No questions asked. And you told me a bunch of other people are helping me out. So let me see and I'll get back to you. And then eventually I think you told me that you didn't need anything. Everything was replaced.
Yeah.
And someone in that position could have been like, hey, I really could use and give me every card there. And I honestly would have sent you every card unless it was probably like national promos. I would have had to make sure that they didn't come out of like my collection. But if I had them extra, I would have sent them just because I felt moved to help you out in that situation. Especially being that it was, as far as I know, that was your first nationals experience. Nobody wants their first national experience. They lose their entire collection. And then, you know, you have to start from scratch because a lot of people wouldn't start from scratch. So I wanted to help ensure that you didn't feel the burden of having to start over completely. And the fact that you didn't take advantage of that and you didn't even let me give you anything. That was like, okay, this guy's solid. Like, and I'm not saying that other people in the community would have taken advantage. I'm just saying the opportunity to take advantage was there. And you looked it in the eye and was like, nah, dog, I'm good.
No, I was really blessed. That was amazing.
And I'm glad that the community had overwhelming support for you in that situation because that, again, just shows what the nature of this community is. And it's one of the things that I've missed the most. Like, I don't know if the community misses the podcast as much as like I miss being part of the community by way of the podcast because I feel like it's a way to interact with people in a way that I don't get to interact in any other facet of life. Like, no other facet of life am I sitting down and just talking and someone a week later is like, hey man, I heard that podcast and it really was cool. This part of what you said. Yeah. Like, just the interaction there. So I will stop rambling about that, but
I'm excited. It's going to be awesome.
Yes, I'm excited for that. And I think just a lot of things here at the end of the year to get excited about with the deck building contest and with the Christmas card swap as well. But we do have a couple of tournament results, so let's get those to you.
Let's turn our attention to the most recent tournament results and see where players have stacked up since our last episode.
Well, since our last episode, we know that we have had one, I would call this a semi-major tournament because it's kind of on everyone's radar at least. It's not just a local that, you know, people in a local play group know or a district that a local play group's doing. This is, even though it is just a district, it is a well-known and well-publicized tournament. And that is one that was birthed out of, sad circumstances last year, and this is the second running of it. Obviously, we've talked about Jay Chambers here at the podcast a lot, but the struggle for him and his wife to get pregnant has, been talked about in the community because of this tournament, but they lost a baby last year. They even lost another one this year, which is, tragic. And obviously we pray with them and we believe in them for God's will for them in their, hopes to have a family. And we want God's will to be done in that situation. But in light of that, like taking that, what could be just a negative, sad moment and turning it into a way for this community to connect with one of our own who's been around forever. And one of the ways that I got really involved in the game was getting to meet Jay because he was local here. I found out about the game. Then Jay reached out to me and boom, here I am 5-6 years later running a podcast and I would say a pretty heavy involved person within the community, not to like speak too highly of myself, but being involved in the community is done by way a lot of, that first interaction with Jay and his brother, Jeremy, and just what's grown from there. So having a way to support them, Jay and his family in this situation.
Yeah.
It's cool to see the community do it, and not only this year do it in Michigan, but also have Texas pick up and do an honorary tournament or memorial tournament in honor of Jay's family going through this. And I know it's one of those things that, like, as you talk about it, it's one of those that when it comes to like kids and things that, like, I guess probably as a pastor, I would assume that this is probably one of the hardest situations to talk to someone through is the loss of a child, because, parents aren't supposed to bury children. It's supposed to be the other way around.
Yeah.
So just finding a way to put a positive spin on that and come together and support Jay is really cool to see. And I really hate that I was not able to get up there this year. So that makes 2 years that I wasn't able to make this thing, but I'm hoping, in the future to be able to do it. I know that you were at the Texas tournament.
It was a lot of fun.
You can give a little bit of detail when we go over that, but we'll start with the Michigan tournament because it happened first. It happened on the weekend that we were doing our big inventory count at work, so I wasn't even able to get my head above water and check out what was happening until after it was all over with. I know that Jaden had the live stream, and I was hoping to be able to watch some of it, but just didn't get to happen that way. But we do have the results from that to share, and you've probably already seen these on Discord, but I did want to make sure that we shared them here in the podcast. But the tournament results for the Michigan tournament, there was a Friday warm-up, and if you look at my my outline here, Jake, apparently there was a Friday wham-up.
Wham-up.
Jeremy,
you got to get that Friday wham-up.
Yeah, you got to get that wham-up. So Jeremy won the warm-up tournament on Friday. Mark Valake came in second. So I'm guessing they ran that as a local, so there was only a first and second place finish. On, on Saturday was where the categories were all played. Type 1 win a box. So there was a box given away to the winner here, and that was going to Josh Potratz, who won. Jeremy Chambers came in second. Mark Valake came in third. And then there was sealed, which also had a win a box. And Josh won that as well. So Josh Potratz, if we were doing power rankings right now, Josh Potratz would be moving on up to the east side.
Moving on up.
And then in second was Vance Burnham. I believe that is the young son of the Jambi. The Jambi who makes the wood tokens.
Zach.
So, yeah, Zach. And so that's pretty cool to see. And in third, there was Jay Chambers. So he found a way to at least place in one of the categories here. So that's cool to see. Booster Win-A-Box, Jaden came in first. Mark Valake second. Mitch Stewart. And those are the categories for the Michigan tournament. Now, since you were at the Texas leg of this tournament, you want to go over those results with us?
Yeah, so we had on Friday we had a draft, and I mixed these up. We mixed these up on the notes, but I got the draft on Friday night, and I don't remember second place or third place. Then on Saturday we had another draft, a bigger draft, more packs, and Stephen Brooks took it. He crushed me, so that was good. And then we also had our Type 1 on Saturday as well, and he crushed it too, taking first place. I got second, and Jonathan Steckman got third place. But it was really fun. We tried to stream it, but my laptop is a dumpster fire, so it didn't work out very well. I don't know how long it streamed, but it went up for a little bit, but it didn't last for long.
That's a bummer. I didn't know that. I just saw I knew that you had some video footage on your YouTube channel, and I was hoping to go back when I watched the ones from Jaden to watch yours too. But you're telling me that it's kind of like Robbie, I'm streaming at Nationals.
Honestly, it might be even worse than that. So, I'd be lucky if you see a full game on there. I don't know if there's a full game on there. So. Oh
man. Well, we'll give you an A for effort. As long as your heart was in the right place. But
it was.
My
laptop was not.
Being that this tournament was done in a way to show respect and support for Jay and his family, it didn't just happen without the support of several people coming together. Obviously, having a tournament in Michigan and then having another one the next weekend in Texas, there has to be, people volunteering, to run the tournament, being the host, people running, providing prize support, having a venue for each tournament, all of those things. So this was a tournament that was heavily sponsored, and I want to shout out all those people that helped sponsor that and help run that. Obviously, you have the people that hosted the tournament. I believe that Jay did most of the hosting for the Michigan tournament, best I can tell. And then it looks like Roy was running point for the one in Texas. Is that right?
That's correct.
I want to give those guys shout outs for that. And then we have the sponsors for the prize support, which is Covenant Games. They supplied some of the boxes. Your Turn Games, I believe, helped with that. Land of Redemption also sponsored some stuff. Christopher Hill made his tokens that he passed out at Nationals, some of those different color 3D printed tokens, which are pretty cool. Joe Schaefer threw in some support for the Texas tournament. And then you have the venue for the Michigan tournament, which is South Litchfield Baptist Church, which is where Jay is pastor. And then Heroes and Fantasies is a gaming venue in Texas. So it was kind of cool to see that not only were we using this tournament to, show support for Jay, but it also got redemption into a brick and mortar store where it could potentially be seen by other people. That's always cool. You guys in Texas do that a lot.
Yeah, that's really cool.
How does it feel to play redemption in a store like that?
It's fun. There's Pokemon players, Yu-Gi-Oh players, Magic players come by checking out what's going on. We get to share like what it's like, and it's just a really cool little event there to hang out there with some people. So fun.
I think that's one of the coolest aspects of seeing some of the Texas tournaments over the past few years. I know I forget the gentleman's name that he came to the Texas Nationals, and then he ended up opening or not opening, but carrying redemption for his store, the Arena.
Yeah,
and you
Brandon,
guys used to do stuff
Games,
there, but there you go, Brandon. Okay, and so it's kind of cool to see that you guys keep finding your way to get into brick and mortar stores to, expose the game to other gamers, which is cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I think that brings us to one other segment before we get ready to wrap this thing up. And I know this is going to end up being a shorter podcast than what we normally do. But again, like I mentioned, we're just going to try to get our feet wet a little bit, make sure we got our bearings. So even though it might be shorter, it's going to help me with the editing process so we can make sure we get this out for you on Wednesday the 20th, which is what we're shooting for here as we record this. But you've got some card designs, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now, join us as we head into the design lab and brainstorm new card ideas with this week's Ager the Creator.
Ager the Creator. There's two ways to say Ager. We say it this way so that it rhymes. But what do you got for me? And I just want you guys to know out there, if I say something stupid, I have not seen these card designs that I know of. They're not on the outline, so I'm gonna be spitballing from a blank slate. So,
but if you want to go back to the Discord, I put them back in the Discord here. So the first one is called Scatter the Proud. I know that we have scatter effects, going back to Scattered, the classic. It was in the tins, right? It was the gray, crimson, pale green, brown. Underdeck any number. Underdeck all heroes in battle cannot be negated if there are more than one heroes in battle, and we've known that as scatter effects from now on. Like we have lots of cards like that, like No Straw, and
we even had another Scattered with Scattered Sheep and POC.
Yes, and there's a new Scattered in Israel's Rebellion, but no, Israel's Inheritance. What is it called? Struck and Scattered. Although that one doesn't actually do the same thing. It does underdeck all heroes in battle. But the point is, I like scatter effects, and I looked at this verse and I was like, oh, the Bible says he has shown strength in his arm, he has scattered the proud in the thoughts of their hearts. So I'm like, why can't there be a good enhancement that is scattering? So it's a white good enhancement, 5/1. Underdeck any number of evil characters in battle. You may draw 3. CBN if more than one evil character is in battle. And I think it's just really fun here that I think the underdeck any number is interesting because if you actually want to leave somebody in play, like somehow they have like a big character in play that you don't think they have any enhancements for, you can do that, draw 3, and then play another enhancement afterward if you want to get a little fancy. But otherwise, if there's more than one evil character in battle, you can just underdeck all 3 of them, draw 3, and this involves music, so it'll be a really interesting, maybe too powerful, but I wanted it to look at this idea of a scatter on a good card. So I call this Scatter the Proud. My next one, I call this one the Exchange Punisher Evil Character. It's a 9/5. It says negate a card. If more than one hero has entered battle this turn, you may play an enhancement. And this one is not only punishes exchanges, but it punishes big banding chains. And the idea is, I think cards like Victorious Being are going to see a ton of play. And I think you should be able to punish that more than just like, the only real way to punish that card is to punish draw effects. And like, okay, that they could just say, I'm not going to draw. But this guy will actually get to play a quick enhancement, a fast enhancement if they exchange that turn. So it may make them think twice about exchanging a hero to battle or banding a huge chain into battle. So I like that guy as my exchange and band punisher. I think he's really interesting. Let me see here. I like this one for green enhancements, and this is one thing I've noticed. I'm not a huge fan of the green enhancements for Israel's Rebellion. I think that green's lacking on enhancements. Some people disagree with me. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. And some people are saying like the power of green is in their character specifically, not the enhancements. All those are fine points, but for my point, I was like, we could use some stronger green enhancements. And I call this one Silence the Wicked. It's a good enhancement for green, 7/0. Negate a card. While your opponent controls a character in battle with greater than 9 power, they are restricted from playing enhancements. So this idea is like, I like the idea of silence effects in other games, right? Like you silence a character, they can't do anything. And this is like, hey, you're going to punish somebody if they're playing some big giants. We're going to say you're not allowed to play any more enhancements. But I think it's really interesting. Silence the Wicked is really fun there. Okay, and one final thing I wanted to share. I call this one Insurance, and it's a dual alignment enhancement, 3/3. This one is negate a card. If this card is discarded, you may add a character to battle. And it's really simple, but I think it's really cool because the idea is you get to negate whatever they do, battle winner or whatever, etc. Now this enhancement is going to be in battle. Now, if they find a way to kill your character without negating this card, that means that card is going to the enhancement is going to go to the discard. So you're going to get an add to battle immediately. So I think it really puts an interesting way on the battle flows because they have to specifically negate this card if they want to lock you out of battle. So it was something I really thought would be really interesting. But otherwise, those are the ones I wanted to share today, and I'll be cooking up some more. I know I've seen a lot of people active in the card creation community, so it's really cool to see a lot of people giving their ideas. I'm really excited for it. Yeah,
it does seem to be growing in that channel. So I'll give you some thoughts. I'll scroll back. So I did go and find them in Discord so that I have them to review. Now I will rate your names first.
Okay,
I will tell you, Scatter the Proud is a 10 of 10.
Yeah,
that
let's
is
go.
A perfect name for a card. But underdeck any number of evil characters in battle. So you get to decide to leave one to kill it off potentially. Mm-hmm. You get to draw 3. CBN, if more than one is in battle, involves music, so it's recurred by music leader. Can I just say no?
Yeah, you could. It doesn't have interrupt the battle, so it is slow, but yeah, it is.
It does do a lot, though.
It does do a lot. It does do a lot.
And I'm not a fool. I do know that you would get initiative with Mary to play this. So I know what you're thinking.
I didn't put a star ability on it, man. I didn't put a star ability.
Oh yeah, so she can't grab it, but you can play it on her. I do like the idea of potentially exploring like what abilities we've done just on the evil side, and maybe is there a way to have a good version of that, however you want to word that, and then vice versa. What we're doing for good, is there a way to have an evil version of it? And I don't know like where the line is. Like, how much of that crossover just makes the card ability too strong, targeting the other alignment.
Yeah. That's one thing I was thinking about too. Like scattered effects, like if you do that, you just block them for a turn. But scatter effects on the good side, if you do that, you could just win a soul, which is always dangerous. Like win a soul is a lot more valuable than just getting a full block in that sense automatically. So it's definitely interesting. But I wanted to put the idea out there at least.
I do think that if I were going to try to leave your Scatter the Proud in its intact form, like without changing too much, I would just banish this card to underdeck any number of evil characters so that it's a one-time use and not recurred with Music Leader.
I like that. That's really cool.
Really cool. It gives it kind of leaves it with its, obviously it's a little slow because it doesn't interrupt the battle. And then the CBN status is reliant on that. And it's a one-time use. I think you could get away with that. I'm not sure, but I definitely would like to have some kind of removal on it so that it doesn't get used multiple times, because just to get that off twice in a game, I mean, if you lose that game, then you're just a bad player, right? If you're getting rid of their entire defense twice.
Yeah.
And you're getting to draw 3 on top of, like, that's just, I feel like that's too overbearing.
It could be for sure.
The next one, you don't really have a name for, so I won't rate the name on it, but the Exchange Punisher EC, I really like that. I think this might be my favorite one of the ones because it kind of puts a sliding scale value on, like, you have negate a card, so you get to do something, and then you have that, a potential for an additional effect. If more than one hero has entered battle, you can play an enhancement, and play abilities are really strong, especially if you block and immediately get to play something. But it being based on whether they enter battle with more than one hero, and I think using that as a way to like gauge and build into abilities is such a cool idea. And I wouldn't mind seeing like 4 or 5 cards like this sprinkled into the next set or two, to where it's like, if more than one has entered battle, because it stops banding, like you mentioned, it stops the exchange, but it also hits like add to battle, right?
Yeah.
Because it says enter battle this turn. I know each battle phase is its own, or each battle is in its own battle phase or whatever, however the terminology is. But since it specifies this turn, if they hit an add to battle on you, boom, you get to potentially come in with this guy afterwards on your own add to battle and get to play something, even if you faced a lone hero in the first battle or whatever. But just using that as a way, like more than one entered battle. And then you could flip that, like I was talking about before, where you use, you find something that works on the evil side, and then you find a way to word it for good and basically just borrow things. Imagine then you could get one for good and then one for evil. So you hit it from both sides. I just think it's kind of a cool design space potentially. And I don't think it's overpowered by any means if it's balancing out. If it's balancing out based on what they're doing in battle, because them coming out playing Resurrection before you ever get a block attempt, and then they have all the interrupt the battle CBN enhancements to play down. I mean, you're already facing a disadvantage. So that's pretty cool. The other or the next one, Silence the Wicked. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that's another 10 out of 10. So you're rolling in the names. Then this was negate a card while your opponent controls a character in battle greater than 9 power. They are restricted from playing dominance, or I'm sorry, not dominance, enhancements. It reminds me of like Glory Effect on an enhancement. And I think that it might be, but how many evil characters are you seeing that have more than 9?
Exactly. So it's like,
I mean, what
characters.
It would be hilarious if they pushed Ananias, and they were like, you can't play anything that doesn't have a brigade already in battle. And you were like, okay, I'm going to play this mono green enhancement. Now you can't play anything.
You can't play anything at all.
At all. That would be kind of a funny, like, back and forth there. But I do like the ability here, or finding a way to kind of put that style of ability on it. But it's also like an ongoing, like as the battle is changing, you might get rid of, they might get rid of a character because they can negate and discard a card. Maybe it's one of those random cards that allow you to target the same alignment or something, or maybe you have your Angel of the Lord. You use it on your own evil character so you can play an enhancement. I don't know that would actually come up or anything, but just the thought of how that could make someone pivot on their block or on their rescue attempt or whatever to work with an answer. Because again, if it works for one side, you could flip it and do it for the other side potentially, and reuse that same design space, which is cool. Insurance. I posted a couple of pictures in the Discord on the off-topic chat that I am expecting that this coming week I will, after 2 years since I hit a deer and totaled my car, get my car that has 26,000 miles on it back. And I am so looking forward to it. And I am going to be a teenager again. And I still have to go through the inspection process to get it from just a salvage title to a rebuilt title, but I'm really excited about that. But me and insurance don't really jive, so I'm going to give you a 2 for this name if insurance is the name. Just because I've been scarred.
Name, but yes.
I figured it was, but I just wanted to give a little backstory to why I have disdain for the word. But anyway, this one, negate a card, which this is the second one where you've had negate a card on it. So you're getting a little out of control here with just targeting anything.
Yeah, targeting anything is always great.
It is great.
It also saves room on the text too.
If this card is discarded, you may add a character battle. So negate a card, it's sitting in battle, and now if it's discarded, and a lot of things negate and discard. And I think that punishing the removal of an enhancement that's sitting in battle is actually another thing that is, potentially good design space for cards and for the card design team. So I think that this card here is another one that's kind of like it's an open door into new design space potentially. And I think that a lot of your cards usually are trying to push towards design space versus specific cards. Like if you don't do this, you could use the idea of this in a way that maybe we haven't seen a card before. And I think that's really cool. So this one I do like. I do like the ongoing, if this card is discarded, you can add a character to battle, being dual alignment. And this is one that doesn't have to have.
And this was important as dual alignment. That's why negate a card works too.
Right. Yeah. And with you saying negate a card and not opposite alignment or anything, it doesn't have to have it doesn't have to have the two different sides with two different abilities. It can just have the two icons with the same ability, the way that it's worded. And I think it works pretty well. So I would say that of the cards you gave, I think the first one is probably above power level, but the other ones are opening new design space, or at least, I don't know what the design team has kind of, on the books as ideas and things for in the future. So I don't know if they've thought of some of these things or not, but it does bridge that gap from where we are to where we could go with some of this stuff. And it's really cool. So I think I'm going to give you an A for your card designs.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
This episode.
That's awesome.
It's not every day you're going to get an A.
But maybe next time, because I have an article I'm trying to work on for.
You've been working on an article.
Yeah. And it's introducing some resource systems to Redemption. I think would be interesting. So I have a few cards mocked up for that one too. So hopefully I have some time to finish that article, because I started it a week and a half ago or something, 2 weeks ago. But
okay, well,
yeah,
I don't know about the schedule. Just I am thankful that we were able to carve out time here to record an episode, and I think it was probably a little wordy for different things throughout. I don't know if we found our footing on the pacing, and then obviously we're gonna have to get back into the swing of using the intro clips and the segment segues and things like that. But I think that this has been a good reintroduction to the community. Hey, we're still here. We came back from Portland. Hey. We're not planning on shutting it down.
Exactly.
And hopefully we can carve out time to record another episode, maybe in a couple of weeks. If it's not, again, just bear with us, give us some grace as we try to work into a new schedule. You're juggling three jobs that actually pay, and this would be, I guess, a job that doesn't pay. So and then finding a balance there with your family and things. I don't want you to get the wife mad at me, so we'll work where we can to find time to record. But we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Catch you next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Threshing Floor Podcast. Help us grow our community by leaving a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. While you're at it, be sure to subscribe or follow so you don't miss the next episode. And we'll talk to you next time on the Threshing Floor Podcast.